Well, welcome everyone to our Saturday morning webinar. This is Judy Feldhausen, and I am joined today with the cool Bob Wischmeier. Morning, Bob.
Good morning, Judy. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's cool this morning for sure.
It really is. It really is. And we're continuing our learning today with persistence. And I know David Munoz was just talking about walking the dog, and walking the dog outside in the cold weather is not always the most pleasant thing to do, but it does require persistence.
It certainly does.
Yeah, whether you want it or not, right?
Yeah, one of the things that we took note of this morning is in preparation for our webinar was the actual definition of sustained. It reads strengthen or support physically or mentally. And you have to be physically and mentally prepared to step out that door, David, with that little dog. Take that. Do you put little booties on her to keep her feet from freezing?
No, she doesn't. She has natural booties on it and natural fur. My wife bought a coat one time for her, and I said, that coat's not necessary. She has a coat. She's naturally protected.
Yeah. It's a sustained effort, right? So anyway, yeah. Go ahead, Judy, please.
Well, and you said the sustained effort, absolutely. And it's, I think of that as doing things when you're really not in the mood to do it, and doing it over and over and over again. What do you think, Bob?
Well, that's true. I was thinking about our children when the kids were little, and some of our children just were extremely persistent, I mean, like almost make you mad, Sometimes they weren't, but you would see that kind of character in some of the children. And it was, I loved that. I've seen my kids that had that, I don't know, moxie or whatever to just really stick with things, whereas some of the other kids would give up pretty quick, pretty easily. But it's a matter of willpower, right? I mean, I think that's kind of what it boils down to, willpower and desire. And when you have that, when you're looking to do something in life and you have the willpower, the desire, the persistence to move it forward, that's a pretty irresistible pair of things to be working with, willpower and desire.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the difference between the willpower of the parent versus the willpower of the child.
Yeah. You hope and pray that your children will be independent, will become independent, do their own thinking, and then when they do, it makes you angry. It's like you're supposed to do what I tell you, not what you want to do. But anyway, I was thinking about when I was preparing for today, I was thinking about something that Dane had said years ago about when he was a little kid up in Northern California and in school, and I can't remember, elementary school or something. They asked the children what did they want to be when they grew up, and Dane told his class that he wanted to be a fireman, but he didn't really. He said the thing that I wanted to say and didn't say was that I wanted to be a baseball player, but he didn't say it because he knew that he would get teased if he did. But even from the time when he was just a little tiny guy, he had that dream of someday being a professional baseball player. He had the skill level, he had the physique, the genetic, the body that he needed, but he also had the desire and the willpower to make that happen. And not only did he make it happen, but he stayed in the majors for a very long time. Well, he was persistent and he did all the things he needed to do. I was listening to a little podcast with George Brett, who's a great baseball player. And he was talking about Dane when Dane hit the winning run in the 1985 Game 6 of the 85 World Series. And he was talking about Dane. He goes, man, I'm telling you, that Dane, he had a baseball bat in his hand all the time. He said, I don't think I ever saw Dane when he didn't have a baseball bat in his hand. Well, that's that persistence, that willpower and desire that really moved him forward in that regard in his career as a professional baseball player. So you mix up willpower and desire, and that's a pretty good formula for success, right, Judy?
Yeah, absolutely. And so today we are going to talk about persistence in more detail and specific characteristics that that you may want to acquire along your journey to success. And we're going to also talk about some other people that showed the persistence that they had in their life, and what happened. So we want to talk about the factors of persistence, and we want to talk about two people from the book that have these characteristics, both Kate Smith and Fannie Hurst. And so when you look at the factors of persistence, when it goes to Kate Smith really had that definite of purpose. Now, if you've never heard of Kate Smith, she was a famous singer, and the song that she's probably best known for is "God Bless America," and that she's got a really powerful voice. Not the best voice in the world, but she really knew that she wanted to sing. She wanted to share her voice, and she had a desire, such a strong desire to do that, that for years she sang everywhere she could possibly go for free. She didn't get paid for singing. She just went at any place that would have her, and she sang over and over and over again. And really, that took a lot of self-reliance. She didn't really have anyone to back her. She didn't have anyone that she knew in the business. She had to rely on herself to do that. And Broadway, the music industry kept ignoring her until finally, I guess they thought, oh, well, let's see really what she can do. And she started to earn money for what she did, started recording. And her salary became such that in 1 week, she earned enough money at that time to equate to a year's salary for most people. I mean, that's an amazing, amazing job. And then we want to talk about Fannie Hurst, who also had definiteness of purpose and desire and self-reliance. And she really also had that definiteness of plans. She had some great plans. Now, Fannie was different. Fannie was an author, and she started writing at a young age and sending out her stories to everywhere she could think of. For one place in particular, the Saturday Evening Post, they rejected her 36 times for her stories. Now, that's having that knowledge, but also that definite persistence. I mean, she knew how to write, but she kept doing it for 4 years. So then we want to go to cooperation, and Fannie was a great instance of cooperation. And finally, the movie producers started talking to her, and she cooperated with them to bring a novel that she had written into the screen. And that screenplay, the book had not even been published yet, but the movie producers gave her $100,000 for her ability to write the screenplay. They trusted her. They wanted to cooperate with her, and $100,000. That was more than any advance on any book at that time. And this was back in the 20s. Amazing amount of money. And the movie was called Imitation of Life. I've never seen it. I don't know if anybody here has seen it. But that was in the 20s. And then in 1954, she wrote another screenplay. She wrote several screenplays. In 1954, her last one was called Young at Heart. And I know that one I have I've heard of. But there were big stakes around her having to do this over and over again. And that's where her willpower came in. She had the willpower to not quit. And she also had the habit of doing it over and over and over. 36 rejections, that's a fair amount of rejection slips to get. But she didn't quit. She just made that a daily habit to write. And it really paid off. And both of these women have all of these characteristics, these factors of persistence that help them become very, very strong, powerful, and successful women.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I was reading an article the other day about the late great Billie Holiday, and when she was 17 years old, she talks about how she was in New York. She was walking down the street. She was 17 years old, and she was so hungry she could hardly even stay upright. She was starving. And she went into every establishment there in New York. She walked into, every bar, every, that she could find along the way, trying to find some work, and no one would give her any work. And she finally had walked into some kind of a bar, and the guy that ran the place asked her, well, she asked for work. He said, what can you do? She said, I can dance. And he said, okay, let's see you dance. And so she danced, and he says, you're terrible. You're not any good at dancing. What else can you do? She said, I can sing. And they had a band in there that was warming up. And so she stepped over to the band and sang. And in that moment, her voice was so powerful, so remarkable, that he said, yeah, you can sing all right. And he hired her right there on the spot. Well, that she was 17 years old. We're looking at these beautiful women here and we're using them as examples of persistence and willpower and desire and strength. But they set such a great example for us. I think it was Frank Sinatra who said that Billie Holiday was his great inspiration in life, because of her beautiful voice, of course, but also because of her life. But you have to have that definiteness of purpose. Why in the world am I doing this? And if you really have something strong in your heart and soul that you want to do in life, I look back to when Vanya and I got involved with Synergy all those years ago. My desire to create a home-based business was because I wanted to leave Montana and move back to our farm operation, we're way out here in the country. There's nobody else around us. And so I wasn't going to be able to move back out here and then try to find a job somewhere in town somewhere. I didn't want to do that. I knew that if I could find some work that would allow me to do that work from home, I could do this. I could put this plan into place. And that's really what happened with us. We knew what we wanted to do. We had that desire. We wanted to become as self-reliant as possible, and we could do that through having a home-based business, which is one of the remarkable things about Synergy Worldwide anyway, is that it's a home-based business that can allow you to move forward with your job without leaving home. So yeah, faith. I had the faith that would work, right? Personally, I did. But faith without works is dead. You have to. You can't. It isn't enough to just. Yeah, I know it's going to work. You have to work at it, right? You have to make that happen. It's always, I've always thought how knowledge without application doesn't have a lot of value to it. You have to apply those things. You have to apply that. Once you have that purpose and that definiteness and plan, you have to learn what you can and then move forward with the knowledge and understanding that you've gained. So anyway, I think it's just really, really good stuff. And thanks for talking about these two ladies, Judy. Really, it's really interesting to me to read about these things. That's one of the things about Napoleon Hill in his writing. He talks about a lot of people, and I've enjoyed that. I've learned a lot about a lot of people who I didn't know anything about. Of course, it goes back the 20s, and that's part of it. But anyway, moving right along, Judy. Thank you.
Absolutely. And you're right. And I like what you said too about wishing and not acting. So I had a friend that as she was in her 70s, she said, I always wished that I could play the piano. And it made me sad because she had a wish, but a wish without that substance, without that action, stays a wish.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly right.
you really have to be able to have these factors and the symptoms that we have sometimes when we lack persistence. And maybe some of you can relate to some of this. I know there have been many times that I still relate to to some of this. There's days when I go, oh yeah, well, today is not the day for persistence. Today's the day for maybe procrastination. And I sometimes I think of myself as the queen of procrastination, because I really know how to fill up a day with other stuff. Not that I don't do stuff. I certainly am staying busy. But, it really, I get a little murky sometimes about really what is my main thing that I want to accomplish. And I let other things come up during the day. Some of them I can help and some of them I can't help. I mean, when an emergency rises, you really have to take care of it immediately. But sometimes you go a little deeper than you really need to.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? I feel bad for this guy standing there with his hands against that rock. That's probably not the right place to be standing, pushing that thing up the hill. But yeah, symptoms of a lack of persistence. It's just that failure to recognize or to define that murkiness. What is it that you want to do? And then procrastination. I mean, seriously, we all do that. Sometimes there's a reason. Sometimes there's good reason for why we procrastinated something. But oftentimes, not so much. It's just, we have excuses. And Bonnie always used to say excuses are for losers. And I'm afraid I've been guilty of that too. The other thing, and I like the bullet notes that Judy has presented here, this lack of interest. There's something about the fact that you need to gain a certain amount of knowledge in order to move forward in whatever endeavor you do. And it's like with our synergy businesses, there are things that you just simply have to learn. You need to understand what nitric oxide therapy is all about if you're going to talk about ProArginine Plus. Or if you're going to grow your business, if you really want to focus on your business, you have to learn, how does the comp plan work? How do you order things online? How do you do the things that we do as synergy distributors? And if you're not willing to do that, and I used to say too that you don't have to know everything, of course, but you know enough already to get started. But if you're going to sponsor someone, you're responsible to help them, right? That's that whole concept of being able to duplicate yourself. And so you have to learn. You have to gain some knowledge in your business in order for it to move forward with any kind of power. You should be able to look to your upline, if you will, for help and for strength. And if they're not there, well, you're going to have to look somewhere else. But you do need to learn some specialized knowledge. And I really believe that. And indecision will kill you every time. You've got to learn, especially in this kind of business, you have to learn. You just can't just pass the buck every time it gets odd or things get tough. You have to learn to make decisions and then act accordingly. And when you do, it's people respect that. And so anyway, for what it's worth, but I just think those things are just so important, Judy.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes through it all, we do become irresponsible. There's other things that might be funner. Is that a word? I don't know. Funner to do, more fun to do that, we don't do the things that we need to do. I thought that the self-satisfaction part was interesting. Do you know that there's been studies done that the desire for something actually excites more neurons in our bodies than the actual accomplishment of it. It seems that when we accomplish things, we totally stop. And there's no, because there's no desire left, we become self-satisfied and get stuck. And
well, and you have to learn, I think, too, to postpone gratification. That's a part of that as well.
absolutely, absolutely. Where and there's the newer generation is totally opposite of that, right? With the technology issues that they need to have an answer right now. They can't wait. They need to be satisfied immediately.
When my son Ben was just a little tiny boy, we were out in Montana, and he's in his little bib overalls. You can just picture a little tow-haired, chunky little guy in his denim bib overalls, and we were at the doctor, and I can't remember why we were there with him, but we had this wonderful doctor named Smokey Stover. We loved him to death. He was great, and he did something, and he handed Ben, this little boy, a stick of gum, and Ben took that stick of gum from him and he slid it into the pocket on the front of his little bib overalls. He was just a little guy, and he put that stick of gum in his pocket. He didn't just open it and chew it up. I'll never forget, old Smokey Stover said, he can postpone gratification. This boy is going to be something. And it was a sweet little thing to hear from the doctor, but he was absolutely right. That little boy grew up into a man. He works for Chevron Oil. He's an amazing father, 4 children, and he can still postpone gratification. Just a little excerpt from Bob's life, but I've always loved that about my son. In fact, that doctor recognized that anyone who can do that, it takes character.
It does take character. And when, we talk about indifference, and, that's a big part of not knowing your why, not knowing why you're doing it. Because if you don't really even care about it, there's nothing there that is going to make you stay persistent, to make you move toward that goal.
Yeah. How many times have we heard someone say, whatever?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You remember that we used to hear that a lot in the past, but whatever.
That's true. That's true. And the willingness to quit. And, you see that so often, I think, in network marketing, is the willingness to quit. I started this and it didn't work, so I'm just going to quit.
Yeah.
Without really working at it.
Yeah. It's so easy to take that path of least resistance, right? And what does they say? When the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true, you guys. And there are other things, when we think about, symptoms, if you will, people who just don't have that capacity or the ability to persist and move forward with something, and blaming others is a part of that. Well, I want to do it, but, or, my sponsor isn't helping me, that kind of a thing. And I think it was Dan Hammer who said to me one time, if your sponsor isn't helping you, if you don't like what your sponsor's doing, get over it. And I thought, what good counsel that was from Dan. Get over it. There are just things that happen in life, and you got to move along. But neglect is a big thing too in our business. We set goals and stuff, and then we fail to do that. We fail to follow through. We just sort of leave things to the side. We neglect our business, if you will. And you can't treat a business, you can't neglect in your business. If you have a brick and mortar business, Judy and I have literally had brick and mortar businesses in my lifetime. And if I had to be at work at 5 a.m, I had to be at work at 5 a.m. I mean, that's all there was to it. I had men that worked for me, and when I had my butcher shop, I had full-time federal inspection in my building. I had an office in my building for an inspector from the USDA. I had to be there every day. I had to have my building clean enough every single day for him to inspect it every single morning. You can't neglect that kind of thing or you're out of business, right? And I learned that a long time ago. Another real serious problem is just being disorganized. That doesn't work in business. You know, you've got to stay on top of things, keep things straight. I've been watching this whole thing with this cryptocurrency situation that's going on right now. And they keep talking about how this, Bankman-Fried, how he was so disorganized in his business and he didn't follow correct fiduciary responsibilities and things of that nature, completely disorganized. And that will bring down anybody's business. And of course, wishing things happened. And rather than having the strength to will things to happen, of course, is another symptom of just that lack of persistence. It's just a weakness of character, I think, more than anything else, Judy.
Yeah, absolutely. And also neglecting to move. You do have to move ahead. You can't stay at the same thing, doing the same thing that you've been doing over and over and over again. Things change. I mean, we've got this new app right now. It's not easy to be able to go through all the different parts of that app and to know everything. But if we don't move with the times, we're going to be left behind because that's just the way things are going.
Well, we've really seen that in this business, haven't we, over the last 10 years? It has just changed. It has just completely changed. You can't pick up that old Don Fila network marketing, figure it all out on a napkin sitting at the table and make it work anymore. That doesn't work any longer. Things have just simply changed. And speaking of that, before we go any farther, I had an email or a text message this morning from Josh McKell. I love Josh McKell. I've really enjoyed him. But last Friday was his last day with the company.
Oh, no.
I had no idea that was, I don't know if it's because he has another job that he's moving on to or because he was let go. I don't know. I don't know any of the details, but I had a sweet text from him. But things happen and companies move on. We've watched a lot of folks come and go in Synergy over the years. So anyway, just kind of a side note there, but thought I'd share it. Yeah. Sorry, Judy, I interrupted you.
No, that's that. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. And, and sometimes people think that things are due them. Like, you owe this to me, rather than being in the go-giver mode. Being in business is you have to have a lot. Look at what Kate Smith did. She gave her music for years. She sang without receiving anything before she got anything. So to always give first is such a great way to and not worry about how people are going to talk about you, not fear that criticism of what they're going to think about you. If you are in your own truth, that is the most important to me, not what other people think about you. Person that you have to worry about thinking about you as yourself and how you are showing up in the world. And if you're doing the best that you can, what other say is not important. It just isn't. We have to stand up for who we are and believe in.
Yeah, it's so true. I love that concept that you just shared about getting without giving. That entitlement is one of the things I feel like has just been plaguing our country the last several years. This concept of you owe me, and boy, I didn't grow up that way. Neither did you. We work for what we get, pay a price for what we have, and that's the right way to go forward in life. I think. I don't. It's entitlement business. Drives me nuts.
And for even simple things for people that are rushing ahead of you in the car or getting into the store before you, to very, very graciously help them into the store, if, or help open the door for them, to give them the sense of, I want to give with you and I am thankful for you, even though you are dismissing me right now. I am still thankful for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all good, I guess.
Yeah.
Look at the things that all these things, this lack of persistence that we had to talk about here versus how the shorter list of what it means to have persistence. It's interesting.
Well, yes, isn't it? And it seems like even though it's a shorter list, sometimes it's harder to do.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the blessings that we have of the kind of business that we're in, of health and wellness. If we keep people healthy and strong and increase their energy, they're going to be more ambitious. And so that's part of the when I talk about synergy products, how there's something almost noble about telling people about products that really do improve their health. David Munoz had it spot on when he said the most expensive supplement that you can buy is the one that doesn't work, but our products work. And so, there's just such great value in that. Anyway, Judy, tell me about this frog here.
Yeah, this frog. I was looking for a dog with a bone and I couldn't find one. I often thought of myself early on in my career that I felt like a dog with a bone. I was just going to keep after that bone until there was absolutely no piece of meat left on the bone. But it also, like similar to a frog, that frog just waits. It waits in the weeds next to the water, and it's waiting for food. Sometimes it's waiting for another frog. You hear the cries of the frog in the early evening in the summer, and they just wait. Just interesting that they're not running all over looking at along every bush and weed for what they're looking for. They just figure if they just sit still long enough, what they want will come to them.
They are persistent. We have a pond here down by our barn, and in the spring there'll be some evening when it's like somebody just flipped a switch and the frogs all come to life. It's the darndest thing. It just makes both of us smile. We'll open the windows so that we can hear them croaking down there at the pond. Fun stuff. But the inevitable conclusion is that persistence, this concentration of effort and definiteness of purpose, those are the major sources of success pretty much for any endeavor. You couple those things together: willpower, desire, and then you can move mountains.
Absolutely. So as we conclude today, just wanted to put this little thing up from Napoleon Hill, which I thought was just a great way to finish about persistence, is that riches do not respond to wishes. They respond only to definite plans, backed by definite desires through constant persistence. Sums it up in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you, Bob. So, and that ends our presentation for today. Do we have any questions or comments before we say goodbye?
Very good morning again. It's Donald.
Hey, Donald.
I can always trust both you guys to really bring it. Judy, I did see that movie. In fact, I think it might have been the first movie I saw just in my teen years. So that would be 60 years ago, approximately. And awesome story between the that time. The two couples who had daughters, and born with in well, obviously the nanny had a daughter and she didn't like her skin color. It was my introduction to that kind of stuff here in Barbados. And very, very good story. We took it in. And Bob, when you brought the recent story with the FTX situation, I too am consumed by that a little bit. And it brings me to the point of, traditional business as opposed to multi-level marketing, where people actually take their hard-earned currency and looking for a yield and put their millions of dollars into cryptocurrency and know nothing or little about cryptocurrency. So the two of those anecdotes was awesome for me today. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Donald.
That's cool. Anybody else?
Yeah, any other thoughts? Anybody want to share this morning before we go?
Hey guys, just a great topic. I think especially the one you mentioned that sometimes distract or delays or there's naysayers, there's people that don't believe what you believe. And it's just a wonderful thing, like you said, to be persistent, to focus. It's going to work. It's there. There's a goal in mind. You see it, others don't, and that's where persistence come in. You keep on going the same direction you're going, and do the things you got to do to reach the goals and reach the other side. So I love this topic, and especially the inspiration that it brings in being persistent, where you can pick yourself up and keep going. The that may occur and the distractions that may occur, but it's special. What you got is really special, and so you keep on keeping on, knowing that you do. Other people are gonna discover what you know, and your business will grow. So thanks a lot, guys.
You bet, David. Yeah, they're always the eye rollers, aren't there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes very close to you.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not just this business. I hear it everywhere. I get the luxury of talking to people in all different kinds of businesses. I spoke to somebody that has a way to use money that he's just so in love with, and got him out of debt, so he's sharing it. But he went through a lot of naysayers, and 6 months ago, Wells Fargo had him in front of 8,000 people, and they ended up wanting to give him $10 million for his idea, which he didn't sell because he said, this is just what's out there. It's not, I'm just teaching it because it's available to everybody. But doesn't make any difference what business you're in. It happens everywhere. And I'm sure many of us know some of the people that have been involved in naysayers.
Well, it's all true. It's all good. We're going to just keep being persistent. I wrote just another little shout out for that app. That app really helps. It sure helps me anyway. Because of my environment, but I'm able to use it every day and send out a text message or two. I've had an enormous response from people who haven't really sold a ton of product. I've picked up some new customers, but the fact that it's helped me to reconnect with people has been just really interesting, and I'm loving it. I think it's a great app for $20 a month, $19.99 or whatever it is a month. That's the best tool ever that I've seen come from Synergy. So I'm using it. I hope you guys are too.
Hey, Bob,
Yeah,
a quick question on the Legacy 2020 app. When you go into the App Store, is there a code that we need to be able to get the app?
No.
Yeah, or I can just send you the app. Go ahead.
Well, no, you sent me the links, I forwarded them on to Dr. Brooks, and he sent me a text saying that he needs a code.
I didn't use a code. Did you
Okay.
use a code, Bob?
I did originally, but that was because it was just barely getting started, and I got an email from Brian Holt, and it required a code, and I think it was like 7243 or something like that. But here, let me
Well,
follow up.
If you have time and there's new links and that, just send me an email with them, and then I'll make sure that I get them passed on.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
Yep, that's it for me. You guys all have a great day. And stay warm.
Yeah, you too. It's getting warm in my room here. The fire is flaming, and it's just getting cozy.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, you guys.
Wonderful day, guys. Take care.
Okay.
Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.